The Forum Boarium was one of the oldest commercial centers in ancient Rome, located near the Tiber River. It served as a marketplace for merchants and traders, particularly dealing in livestock and agricultural products. Over time, it evolved into a religious and cultural hub as well. This is evident in the temples in the Forum. One of these, the large round temple of Hercules Victor, is the oldest surviving marble temple from ancient Rome, dating to the 2nd century BC. The temple is dedicated to the mythological hero Hercules and was likely used for worship, sacrifices, and various ceremonies. Next to it is the architecturally traditional temple of Portunus, is dedicated to the ancient Roman god of keys, doors, and livestock. Built in the 1st century BC, it is renowned for its well-preserved Corinthian columns and architectural details. It served both religious and commercial purposes, as Portunus was associated with trade and harbors, relevant to the market forum's purpose. Opposite the Forum is the Arch of Janus, the only quadriphron's triumphal arch preserved in Rome, set up in the early 4th century AD. Here we see the Forum in relation to other areas in ancient times. You can see the round temple of Hercules at the bottom center, the temple of Portunus to its immediate top right, and the Arch of Janus to the far bottom right. The large theater above the Forum is the Theater of Marcellus. Using Rome Reborn, developed under the guidance of Professor Bernard Fischer, available on Yourscape, we can see what the Forum and the aforementioned temples looked like in their prime. A smaller round temple to the bottom right of the Temple of Hercules no longer remains. The Forum sits just below the magnificent Circus Maximus, and we can see its distance in relation to the Palatine Hill, Colosseum in the distance, and the temples in and around the 7 imperial forums. Using another view using Rome Reborn, we can see in the distance the Forum Boarium and the round temple of Hercules just left of the bridge under the Tiber River indicator. Here we can see a much better view of the 7 imperial forums, Colosseum, and Capitoline Hill, and their distances to the Forum Boarium. Panning to the right, we see the Theater of Marcellus, which is well preserved today, and Temple of Apollo, which has some remaining columns standing. We then see the area known as the Campus Martius, the Theater of Pompey, the 4-temple sanctuary above it, also well preserved, the original bronze roof of the Pantheon, the Baths of Agrippa, and the Stadium of Domitian. Now, we switch to an on-the-ground view of the Forum Boarium, starting with the smaller round temple no longer existent. The market atmosphere of livestock trading and the surrounding environment. We see the round temple of Hercules and the temple of Portunus on the edge of the Tiber River, as new shipments of produce, livestock, and other items arrive by boat on the river. Finally, we come back to Rome on the ground in 2024, walking in the newly landscaped park of the prior Forum. The Forum Boarium was the site of the first gladiatorial contest at Rome, which took place in 264 BC as part of an aristocratic funeral tradition or funeral gift for the dead. Marcus and Decimus Junius Brutus Scaeva organized a gladiatorial showdown to honor their late father, featuring 3 sets of combatants. In 215 BC, 4 victims were buried alive by the Romans under the Forum Boarium as human sacrifices to placate the gods after a series of events were seen as portents to great disaster. This was described by Livy, who wrote in the account known as the History Rome 200 years later. Despite its historical function as the cattle market of ancient Rome, the Temple of Hercules holds a curious local belief, asserting that neither flies nor dogs dare to enter its sacred confines. This temple stands as the oldest surviving mostly intact marble building in Rome, and the sole surviving building crafted from Greek marble. Though the original cella wall, constructed from travertine and marble blocks, and 19 of the original 20 columns endure, the present tiled roof is a later addition. In the 1st century AD, the temple suffered some calamity, resulting in the replacement of 10 columns with Luna marble, a material resembling the original but not an exact match. By 1132, the temple underwent conversion into a church, dubbed St. Stephen of the Carriages. Subsequently, in the 17th century, the church was rededicated to St. Mary. Between 1809 and 1810, the temple underwent restoration alongside a lowering of the surrounding ground level. Formally recognized as an ancient monument in 1935, the temple received another round of restoration in 1996. Here we see the depiction of both the Temple of Hercules and the Temple of Portunus when they were still churches in the 18th century, prior to their restoration to how they looked in ancient Rome. The Temple of Portunus is also one of the best preserved of all Roman temples. The temple was originally built in the 3rd or 4th century BC, but the version we see today was built between 120 and 80 BC. The temple owes its state of preservation to its being converted for use as a church in AD 872 and rededicated to Saint Mary of Egypt. Beyond its well-maintained architectural features and the enduring influence they've inspired, the Temple of Portunus serves as a poignant reminder of Rome's once teeming landscape, adorned with temples of varying sizes that served as focal points of the city's bustling activity. The surviving temples not only echo this vibrancy, but also speak to the architectural legacy of the Romans themselves. In recent decades, the temple underwent extensive restoration efforts utilizing cutting-edge technologies. These included the meticulous cleaning and preservation of frescoes, the installation of a new roof incorporating ancient tiles, seismic reinforcement measures, and the thorough cleaning and restoration of the pediment, columns, and outer walls. Following this comprehensive restoration, the temple reopened its doors to the public in 2014.